So here's our expert panel on edTPA. Sean, take it away.
Sounds good. No pressure at all, right? First, Rob, thank you for having me. It's nice. It brings me back to what feels like a simpler time, because now I love your class so much. I'm so glad I'm able to speak and give back, but now things are kind of crazy. But let me preface that by saying I am Sean. I was in this class last year. I forgot the semester. As I said, things are crazy, but I am now teaching third grade at Olson Elementary School. And yes, I passed the edTPA last year, and it was definitely a crazy process, an overwhelming process. But as long as you take the steps to set yourself up for success, it's very doable. And I learned so much about myself as a teacher throughout the process of edTPA and getting ready and going through it all, especially during distance learning. So hopefully some of you are in the class, and all of you are, and you're able to do this with actual students in front of you and not to a screen. But if that's the case, that's what we did here, and we made it through. So no matter what, you guys got it with hard work and perseverance. I sound like a motivational speaker now. So yes, that is me.
Kendra?
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Rob, for having us. I'm happy to share any part of my experience about this last year if it would be helpful. So definitely ask away when we have the opportunity. You all have this. It's doable. It's manageable. You just, like Sean said, you have to set yourself up for success. My name's Kendra. I teach 6th grade at the same school that Sean is at, Olson Elementary School in MPUSD. I also did my student teaching in 6th grade, which is kind of cool because I've had some exposure to the curriculum, albeit minimal with the distance learning and picking and choosing what to focus on last year. Are we giving our tips now or just
couple of edTPA tips? Go forward.
Perfect. Focus, spend time on task 1. I know it's easy to say, oh, I'll figure out the details later. I want to get to recording, to planning, but spend time planning. Actually spend time in the rubrics, looking at what would it look like to get a 4, and mark everything up. Ask questions and mark things up. And so if you have a question about a specific term that edTPA is referring to, highlight it in your glossary, go back to it, write examples.
Great. Jasmine?
Hello, everyone. I have mushy teacher brain right now, so I wrote everything down. But I am currently teaching 1st grade in Atwood Terrace in MPUSD. I happen to be wearing my school shirt. Woohoo! I was also at CSU on the ITEP pathway and graduated last spring and passed the TPA, and that's why I'm here. One tip that I have is to find someone or people that did it and passed the TPA, message us so they can support you or look over your work or tell you what you need, extra support. Another thing is don't procrastinate, because I did and I regret it a lot. It was super, super stressful. Don't procrastinate. Don't do it. Look over everything you need. Do task 1, like Kendra said, because you say that you're going to do it and you look over it and, oh, it's easy, I'll do it later. Don't do that. I did, and I was so stressed out because it's a lot more than you think.
So we went over task 1 earlier in this course, and afterwards several people said, I'm all stressed out now. I don't know what to do next. So when you got to that stressed point, how did you survive and continue on? I'll just open that up to anybody.
Kendra, do you want to go, or?
Yeah, I would encourage you all. Like I know that feeling, and I can be back in that moment when I realized, like, wow, this is I underestimated this task, this specific piece of the task, the planning part, and that's okay. Like we're all students. We do procrastinate. It's part of our job as well. But make sure if you're procrastinating well, right? You are setting mini deadlines for yourself. So there's a sheet, a timeline, a suggested timeline. I would say, like, give yourself some wiggle room, because things come up in life, whether that's with school or with family or with work. Set mini timelines for yourself, like little deadlines that you want to encourage yourself to meet, because there's little hiccups along the way.
Yeah, I was going to say something along the same line of just know what you yourself can do, because literally anyone could just say, well, I'm going to do all this in one day and then just say it. Anyone could do that, but you have to know what you yourself are capable of. When is your brain going to just shut off? Like, how much work can you really do before what you're doing isn't even your best work or good work anymore? So just like Kendra said, set many goals. You're not going to know exactly how long each one's going to take to write, but like she said, go in, look at the rubrics, look at what each task is asking you. You know your own strengths and weaknesses. Try to figure out how long each one will probably take, planning out, pick a lesson that also, if you haven't picked your lesson yet, I don't know how far along the process you are, but if you're still not sure what you're going to do for your lesson, pick something that you or feel pretty strong in, or something that you have done before, because I waited a little too long. And then I was like, okay, I have to do this next lesson or else I'm going to miss the deadline. So I ended up having to do 5th grade poetry and finding out the theme of poetry. And I was like, oh, wow, I really wish I had a different topic for my English or my reading or ELA, but I couldn't, I missed the deadline. So look ahead, what you're going to be teaching, talk to your co-teacher, set yourself up for success.
So you did teach something that you would normally teach in that course, right?
Yes.
You did, okay. Did any of you pick some topic that wasn't normally taught for your edTPA? No, okay. And so Jasmine, when you got stressed out and you just were overwhelmed, what would you do, and how did you get through it?
Well, I stayed up many hours to get it done, because I wanted, my goal was to hit the first deadline to turn in my edTPA, and I'm very stubborn. So throughout all of my CSUMB and MPUSD spring break, I stayed up and I just did a lot of work. But to piggy off of Kendra, you guys have like a, Rob, did you give them a timeline? That
Yep.
little kind of, yeah.
Checklist,
Yeah.
timeline.
Yeah, that checklist. I would suggest you follow it, because I did not. I'm a fool. I didn't do it. It's fine if you miss a deadline on that path sheet, but like, know what you're capable of doing and at least look through each thing that you need to do in order for you to not stress yourself out. Yeah.
Were there other things you did to deal with? So I heard one strategy from Jasmine, which was I stayed up a lot of late nights. Was there other things that Sean, you or Kendra did that found the time to get the stuff done you needed to do?
This is an example of the rubric. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by the task, break it into little steps, just like the mini deadlines, and start writing examples as they come up, or have a conversation with your peers about what does it look like to have assessments that are strategically designed to allow individuals or groups with specific needs demonstrate their learning. And so right away, I'm thinking about the classes, like the coursework at CSUMB, and I'm thinking UDL integration, universal design for learning. I'm thinking about stating those lesson goals. I'm thinking about giving regular feedback, providing digital and audio text. So right away, if I'm feeling overwhelmed and like I have so much to do and so much to plan, all of a sudden you're taking that knowledge that you all have and you're putting it down on paper in front of you. And so that you can integrate that at a later time when you're writing up the paper, the edTPA, whether it's task 1 or task 3.
Yeah, I mean, when I got super stressed about it and just it all felt super overwhelming, I just stopped for a bit. I went and took a walk, and then I called someone who it was either working on it or they completed it already. And I just literally, I had amazing support system. They just let me vent to them. And I would just say, hey, I'm on this task. I feel like I'm never going to get it done. And this is how I'm feeling right now. And it's just, it's good to get that reality check and that grounding. Just like, these are people who have done it. These are people who are doing it right now. You're just know you're not alone. It definitely might feel like that at times when it's all coming in and it's super overwhelming, but just know, once again, know yourself, know how to ground yourself, get into a better mind frame, because some days you might be working on it for hours after hours and you're just going to keep messing your head up if you do that every single day, every day in a row. So take that time. Your mental health is important. go take a walk, talk to someone who's done it before, or I put my email in, Jasmine put hers. Ask us. I am definitely so open to you guys messaging me, any questions or anything. I'll help you out however you need. So taking care of yourself, definitely.
The other question that somebody brought up earlier was they felt like there was all this new vocabulary that they found in edTPA that they'd never heard about before. Did you have those experiences? And if so, how did you deal with them?
A lot of stress text messages to my friends. No, but seriously, my tip on trying to find someone that has taken the edTPA, like the three of us, it really, really helps because we can look back at what we did and show you, oh, this is what I did on my edTPA, and you can go off of that. And it's really, really helpful. And I didn't text my friends that passed the edTPA until really super last minute. And so I had to change a lot of things. So if you ever bump into that, you should reach out sooner than later.
If you don't have like an immediate peer that you can call, YouTube it. I started watching YouTube videos with like friendly faces, like people that I would have met on campus in class at CSUMB if we were meeting in person. And I felt like they became my friends, and they started using phrases and language that like gave them a point here and gave them a point here. And they were making connections from like what they did using examples from their edTPA project and the rubric. And so finding those little phrases where automatically the score is going to pick up extra points for you is really a relief, because you realize, okay, I can do this and this is how it's done.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you're going to run into those words. What I did is, I think at the back of, hopefully you guys made a binder. Did they make a binder, Rob?
Oh, yes, they did.
Good. Yeah. So kind of off topic, but yeah, I wish I looked at that sooner, because when it got to crunch time, I mean, when I first made it, I made a few notes here and there, and then, oh, whoops, I forgot to look at it for a bit. So be using your binder, be highlighting everything you need to. But yes, there's a section in there. I think it's in the very back. I would grab it and find out right now, but I threw it away the second I finished. It's like a celebratory, just like, woo. And then like the next day I was like, yeah, probably shouldn't have done that. But if I did have it, I would flip to the back. There's a whole section of what do these were like syntax or discourse, and just like their definition of it is different than how you would think. So definitely there you'll find what the definition is. Like Kendra said, Google it. If you're not sure, look up. Yep, there you go. Look up edTPA discourse. What does this mean? What are they asking for? Or even sometimes at the start of the task, it'll say, we will be talking about this. This is what we are actually asking for. And just really, you need to know the vocabulary, because they grade that rubric down to every single letter written in that task. So you just do what the task asks, and it's hard to do that when you don't know what vocabulary they're asking for. So definitely be sure to use all your resources you can to find out what exactly they're asking. And if you're ever unsure, make sure you double, triple check.
It's interesting you use the word syntax, because that was my example earlier today.
That was also my example. I was
that right? That's not a word we use a lot in education, I don't think. Sean, you said something else. Definitions, read the binder. Oh, darn. There was something else you said, and I thought.
Spend time in the glossary.
Okay.
Keep coming back to those key terms, highlight those key terms. Because like you said, there's a lot of unfamiliar vocabulary at first, but the more you reread that definition, then you feel more comfortable using it in your writing. And I remember sending a lot of text to my co-teacher, like, how does this come up in the classroom? Where do you see syntax? Where do you see discourse? How are they different? And we were able, even if she didn't know right on the spot, we were able to work through it together so that I felt more comfortable.
So did you all have that relationship with your co-teacher where they were helping you out with the edTPA? What were some of the other things that worked out with your co-teacher that you figured out with their help?
I think because my co-teacher also had another stage 2 person, they were able to reflect back on what happened the last semester, or I think that helps a lot. I know, unfortunately, some people don't have that type of experience, like, oh, like my co-teacher would be like, oh, she also had this problem. And maybe you should ask so and so. And like she knew how to refer me to different people to get my answer.
Okay.
Another thing that you can chat with your co-teacher about if you have the relationship is background knowledge of the students. You're in the classroom a lot, but the main teacher is in there more with them. And so they have the personal relationships that are a bit stronger than you are as a co-teacher or student teacher. And demonstrating that knowledge when you're recording your clips for edTPA can be really helpful and also get you points if you're making references showing that you've spent time getting to know those students and that you're giving relevant examples that they can connect with.
Oh, I remember my question, Sean, that you brought up. You talked about getting your scores back. What do the scores look like that you get back? And do they break it down by each task somehow? Well, I mean, what do the results look like?
Yes. So I don't remember the specifics, but yes, they tell you your overall score and then they tell you what you got for each section. So while we're talking, I can try to pull up that real quick and just like maybe if that's fine with you, just
Sure.
so you can come back to me.
Yeah.
I'll let you know when I have it up. But yeah,
All right.
definitely, I'll let you know a little more detail what they give you. But yes, it's a set score and then they tell you each section.
And then do you have to score some, can you score, like I gave this example earlier, but I just want to confirm with all of you that you could score low in task 4 and score high in 1, 2, and 3 and still pass, right? Okay.
I can share my screen if you want, Sean. I found my edTPA score.
Yeah, thanks, Jasmine.
It shows part of my social. So you just pretend you don't see it, please.
Grow up.
Give me one sec. Okay, let's not look at my social. So this is what it looks like. It's broken down from each task and it shows you. And yes, I did score very low. I scored really low on my task 4, and that's something I want to talk about. And yeah, they break it down for you, and it shows you the different rubrics and the description, and it keeps going.
Great. You want to talk about the task 4? Just
Yeah.
now, and then Sean can show his if he wants. It's up to you.
Yeah. So one of your questions, Rob, was the hardest task. And the hardest task for me was task 4, because I thought it was going to be the easiest task and I could get a high score to cushion my other tasks. But it was a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. So I suggest taking a lot more time on task 4 and maybe have friends look over it, because it's so much. It's so much. And if you guys want, I can show you my quick Google folder of my edTPA binder, if you guys want.
What is that? How you kept things organized, Jasmine? Do you want to show that? I know you were always great at organizing lots of things.
I can do that.
And you're so creative also. You know, some people have that natural knack, so it's great to see others how they've done it for the other creative people in the group.
Yeah, I don't have that. So
yeah, I don't either. So
talking to Jasmine while I was doing mine was definitely very helpful. So
oh, did you actually talk to each other during edTPA?
Sean and I were big collaborators on that edTPA.
Wow. So it was just a coincidence that I invited you 3. I didn't know how close you were all connected, and that John, you and Kendra are at the same school. That's
me and Jasmine, we had the same co-teacher, just different stages. So very, very interconnected here. So nice.
And the 3 of us hung out at our new hire orientation.
Oh, wow. Cool.
We had MPUSD provided sandwiches together. So the bond's pretty close. But yeah, task 4 was the math one, correct?
Yeah.
So I kind of had an opposite situation to Jasmine, where I was like really stressing about like making the deadline, and I hadn't started task 4 yet. So do not follow my example here, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. I just did it in one day and never looked at it again, because I was so like, I don't want to look at that anymore. And I was like, maybe I'll go back and edit it. And by the time I finished everything else, I was so burnt out, I didn't go back and edit it. And I didn't get such a bad score, but don't do that. But The reason was I did task 4. I believe they don't care if it's the same class you did the other 3 tasks with. So as I was doing theme of poetry for my other 3 tasks, task 1 through 3 for 5th grade, my first stage, I was with 1st grade, and it was 1st grade math I had to do for task 4. So sadly, I don't think you guys have that luxury as you're in stage 1 right now, or stage 2.
Stage 2.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. So if a situation like that comes up where you're not so confident in what you're teaching for math, actually that won't make sense. But I talked to my teacher beforehand. We were doing edTPA stuff, and a lesson fit perfectly with that. So just know, once again, it helped me out doing something that I was knowledgeable in, and just find your strengths, what you'll be able to explain the best, because once you start getting into these rubrics, you really need to know what you taught. So once again, the connection with your co-teacher, very important. I was asking mine a bunch of questions about the theme of poetry, saying, hey, how would I explain this on my edTPA? And she couldn't really like help too much, but just helping me how I would teach it, just explaining what is being asked to be taught, because us as student teachers, we're not expected to know everything before we go in and teach it. So everyone has a different style. So just really, if you're struggling with explaining it, go ask your co-teacher. Hopefully they're there to help you.
Jasmine, did you want to share your organization real fast? Did you have it right
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, I could share it.
And then we'll see what other insights Kendra may have, and then we'll open it up to other questions.
Okay, dokie. You see my screen? That's good.
Yep.
Cool. Everything highlighted in purple is mine, and these I stole from my friends. So task 1, if you go into it, I have my lesson resources, which is all the things that I taught for my lesson. And then I named it to everything that I had to submit. So I renamed everything in order for me to submit it into the edTPA system, because they have everything named in such a specific way that I would have gotten confused trying to find it in my folder. But I did that with every single task. So I have my videos, I have the chat just in case I needed it. I don't even know if I submitted that. I have my instruction things that I saved. Task 3, we have student feedback, where we give feedback to our students. We have work samples. And everything was online, so it's all like online submissions. And then I have my eval. This is nothing, but I have my student achievement chart. And the reason why I say the reason why everyone says to look into your rubric is because once you're submitting some things into the edTPA site, you're like, oh my goodness, I don't have that. So I like quickly like made some things. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna make a little Google Doc so I could submit it into edTPA because I didn't know I needed it. And yeah, be prepared. Yeah, so I have all of these like organized, and yeah.
All right.
Make sure you block your students' names and faces.
Great. Any other insights from you, Kendra, before I see what other questions people have?
Yes, I don't want to overemphasize, or I need to overemphasize bookending that task 4. I do like the idea of going back and making edits using what you've learned from other tasks, but I also want to say, like, you're going to be really tired and you're going to be really over it at some point. And it's really hard to continue that momentum when you feel like you just really need to like submit it. And like, yes, it's a scored thing. And like, yes, you need to do your best. But that phrase keeps coming back right now with me in my own teaching, but progress over perfection. Like, do your best, do your research, plan well, set yourself up well. But you're going to be tired at the end of it. And so use task 4 in the beginning, take care of it, do all the steps, save it in your Google Drive. You know, the last thing you need to do is submit it whenever that edTPA deadline comes along, or leave it for after the literacy section. But I have a hard time imagining that you'll have a lot of energy to jump in between the two. It's nice to just know that you completed all steps of task 4 and have moved on.
Great. All right, everybody, what else do you want to know? Just grab the mic and go.
I had a question earlier about the fact that we have to justify some of our reasoning specifically for the literacy task with theory and or principles. We were wondering if that is something you directly quote and cite, or if it was just kind of like explaining your thinking. If you could just give a little information on that.
Yeah, I mean, what I did was I used the theory of the zone of proximal development. So what I would do is just say, the theory I used was the zone of proximal development. And then I explain what that is, just getting them to that certain spot where there's a productive struggle. And then I would give an example or two of how I use that within my lesson. And I believe that's kind of the extent I got. I know they get into real detail of how they want you to explain it, but I just remember following exactly what the rubric said, going in and reading in even more detail. Okay, they're asking for the theory. What do they want? So doing that, definitely what helped me a lot was looking at papers of people who had already done it and seeing how they brought up theory and just really basing it off that, because I really had no idea how I was going to incorporate it in without looking at other people's. So definitely looking at examples and seeing how other people were able to incorporate it in.
When you said you looked at other papers, what other papers did you look at, Sean?
I had a bunch of my friends in the same cohort. They
okay.
They submitted it. They submitted it before even me, and they were ahead of the game. And I was lucky enough to have some friends who.
So you're talking about the colleagues in your class?
Yes.
Okay, great. Kendra, Jasmine, what theories did you share, or do you remember that part?
Yeah, that part was really confusing for me. I had also read my friends that graduated their edTPA, and I wanted to see what theories they chose. And I actually did not choose like a typical education theory, I guess, that we learn in like liberal studies, but I had chosen, let me see if I remember. I had chosen, it was providing word banks for empowering and giving a better foundation to our English language learners. And it got me a pass. So it worked.
Cool. Kendra?
I would make yourself a little cheat sheet, do a little bit of research, have like a table or chart or Google Doc accessible. And so when you're doing your planning or analyzing your edTPA stuff, you can switch over to that document or have it printed out and say, oh, Piaget's theory, scaffolding, and give yourself the term of the theory or the method, and then give yourself the definition, and then just include that in your writing. Like I opened up my planning commentary and did my Command F for all the times when I talked about theory, and I just started dropping in some of those things. Let's see if I have an example.
Did you integrate in those theories throughout all of your commentary, or just that one commentary?
On the planning commentary, I included it in a couple of the answers. Yeah,
okay.
Like even just at the end. Additionally, my decision to have students participate in a class debate was informed by Piaget's theory of constructivism, which suggests that students learn by doing rather than by being told, period. So just making references to some of that from your little cheat sheet can be helpful.
Great.
Awesome, thank you.
I know I overwhelmed everybody earlier, but are y'all feeling so overwhelmed, or you got it all figured out now?
I feel a lot better.
Great.
I got a question.
Go for it.
Did all three of you submit directly to edTPA, or did you use TaskStream?
I use TaskStream.
We use TaskStream.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I was just wondering, maybe one of us will figure it out later, if we can unsubmit documents to resubmit edited documents.
Oh, maybe you know that, because we decided to get rid of TaskStream at CSUMB. When you submitted stuff to edTPA directly, you could edit it there, couldn't you, if you wanted, or do you even know?
I'm not sure, because I think we had to follow a certain like number of steps to do it.
Okay.
through Task Stream.
So it just was thrown up there. You never really, you obviously paid your money at some point to create that. And then Task Stream just threw them in there, huh?
Yeah, so we uploaded like a bunch of different documents into TaskStream, and then you have to like send it over to the edTPA or Pearson.
Okay,
sorry.
Pearson. Okay.
And before I forget to say this, but leave yourself some wiggle room. The tech stuff, like naming the documents correctly and keeping it organized and reorganizing it and uploading, can cause like some issues, as we all know. But it can be really frustrating at the end of your big project. You've been working on this for weeks. You've spent a lot of time and energy. And then it's like, I had done it. I had tried to set my mini deadline before my CSU spring break. I had fun plans and I wanted to be done with it. And I wanted to enjoy being with my friends and not stressed. And I remember it was like Friday night before the Saturday when I had plans. And there were so many little tech issues about how to name your document and which one goes where. And I just want to say, like, be ready for that. You'll be okay, but stay organized along the way. And don't be surprised if there are some little hiccups there. You'll get through it. But like I said, you're tired and you're ready to be done.
Yeah, to jump on that, just really every document you create, even if it's just a little note document or a side one, give it a name. Always put what task it goes with. You're gonna thank yourself later, just so you can go in Google Docs and just type task 1, and then all your documents that go with task 1 will be there, because some of them you need a lot of these supplemental documents. And then once you upload it to TaskStream, they have specific rules about what they want each document named. So when you have all your documents already organized before you put them in TaskStream, make sure you're reading what they want them named, and then you'll have to change them again. And then one more thing, kind of not in the same vein, but just before I forget, always just be mindful of, you want to kind of over explain a little, but don't be super repetitive, because I was too repetitive in some of mine. I got to the end of the 9-page task and I had 11 pages, and I had to go in and find 2 pages worth of things that I wanted to take out. And I felt so good about all 11 pages. So it was like every day I would go in and like find like maybe one sentence I wanted to take out. And it's like, well, I need to find more than this. So just, you want to write everything you can in the rubric. Try to get the highest score you can, but anything that's you think might be over explaining, maybe keep it in there, but maybe make a note to yourself, I could take this out later. Or I wouldn't say don't put it at all, but definitely make note to yourself as you're writing what things could possibly be taken out later, or maybe things you've already explained.
Google digital folder really helps when you are trying to upload all your documents, and having it all organized for you before you start uploading is really helpful, and it doesn't stress you out as much. And the whole uploading into edTPA or sending it over, I stayed up and watched it move. Waiting for that email, just kept refreshing, like, please, did it send yet? It only took me an hour, but it does take some people like a couple days, 5 hours. It all depends.
Wait, are you saying that when you submitted all of that, it took an hour until you got the email saying it got submitted, but other people, it took 3 days until they got that email?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, lovely.
All right. Omar, did you have another question?
Oh, that was it. Thank you so much.
Okay.
So when you guys submitted it to TaskStream, did they send it to Pearson for you, or did you still have the $300 fee?
Didn't you all have to pay for TaskStream, and then you had to pay for Pearson, right?
We paid off of Pearson, so we registered on Pearson, and then you upload everything into TaskStream, and then Pearson sends you a code to upload or put into TaskStream, and then TaskStream sends it over to you, and that's how they know it's your information, I guess.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
I know that Rob, have mentioned uploading a few days before the date, if possible. Is it the thing that, like what you guys are dealing with the time taking a little bit longer, if we upload on the 18th and we don't get the email for a few days, do you know if that has like if that qualifies us to have to re-upload for the next date, or if it's just processing time.
Yeah, go ahead, Sean.
I was gonna say, I think my understanding is, so there's, as you guys know, there's like different dates you can submit it. I know, I'm sure Rob gave you a deadline of when he wants you to submit it. I believe if it goes over a little bit, you won't get your results at the same time as everyone else, but you'll just get them at a later time and you'll still be good to go. But obviously, do the deadline he gave you. He gave it for a reason, but you will be good, I believe, if you submit it the day it's due in that grading period. If it ends up going a day over, I believe that you'll just get your results at a later time.
Yeah, I uploaded it the night before. And it did only take an hour for mine to upload. So I was able to submit it by the deadline. But other people have experienced other things and they would have to wait until the next deadline to get their results.
So yeah, just so everybody knows, so I gave you the deadline of the 18th, but it's really not due till the 20th. Okay. So, and I haven't shown them all the other possible deadlines yet. So we've just been focused on that, except for a few individuals. If we set up individual meetings to have that conversation, then we can look at other deadlines for the rest of you as needed. Any other questions? Jasmine, Kendra, Sean, any final words of wisdom?
Yes, I just need to think of them real quick. But I thought of them. There we go. That's the teacher brain in action. You guys got this. My camera's getting fuzzy, but it's going to be stressful. Just know you have each other. You are each other's best asset. Talk to someone. Like I said, ground yourself. Go outside. Don't sit in the same corner doing edTPA for 5 hours straight like I did some days. It might happen. I hope it doesn't happen to any of you. Reach out to any of us. We put our emails in the chat. We'll be happy to help. And yeah, you guys got this. Work closely with your co-teacher. Know what works best for you. Know what lessons you want to teach. And you got it.
What I have to say is stay organized. Do not procrastinate. Don't be staying up over 24 hours. Don't do it. You won't like it. It's not good for your mental health. And like Sean said, I put my email in the chat. Some of you guys might have my number. You can totally text me, email me, do whatever you want. If I don't respond in a day or two, send me a follow-up text. I am slow sometimes. I got mushy teacher brain. Good luck to all of you guys. I know you guys got it. I know some of you guys from undergrad. I'm so excited for what you guys are gonna do soon.
Andrew, you get the last word.
Don't forget about self-care. When you feel that big wave of, oh my gosh, I thought I had this, but now I don't, like, go outside, go for a walk, whatever you find calms your brain. For me, it was like just running for like 10 minutes, like putting on my running shoes and then coming back and reset, having got some vitamin D and exercise. And other times it was calling on a friend or a family member or a partner to, hey, do you think you could cook a meal for me tonight? Or do you want to go grab food? It's really just remembering like our brains work better when we take breaks. So call on the people that are there to support you as well. It's a busy time, but you got it. And I'm excited for you all.
Thanks a bunch. You were awesome. Wow, that was great. So we've got all your contact and it's good to see all of you and that you survived and that you're thriving. So you're all welcome to leave if you want, or you can stick around for a few minutes as I kind of close out things here. It's great to see all of you and hopefully we'll get connected again some point. All righty, everybody, let's see, anything else?
Thank you.
So on the agenda, there's a ticket out the door that I'd like you to fill out for me, just to let me know how things are going. If you're still feeling overwhelmed and need to get together to figure things out, just let me know and we can do that and meet. But I think what I learned from Sean and Kendra and Jasmine was your best assets are each other, right? So we've got those groups, you've got your interaction with those people. Again, don't feel like you have to do it on your own, and build that connection with the people you need to at this point. So, all righty. Anything else from any of you? Oh, I should stop recording.